So I would say that the majority of people think that acquiring money is a good thing. And I wouldn't disagree that having abundance is a good thing. Having enough to take care of yourself is a good thing. It's really discerning what's enough, and also understanding that the way I like to think about is, how are you going to spend your life force? How are you going to spend, in yoga we call the life force prana, how are you going to spend your prana money? Because each thought, each action, each you know, activity of your daily life spends that money, spends your life force. And so where do you want to invest it? And of course, making sure that your basic needs are taken care of is essential, is necessary and responsible to do. And the trick is that sometimes thinking that having enough stuff will make us safe, like bad things won't happen, we'll have protection. And to a degree, there is some truth to that. Having some reserve, having some things, for a rainy day. But the tendency, it seems, that there's the habit of acquiring too much. And that isn't good for anybody. And you see that reflected in, I have to say, in the body, in how we struggle with obesity in this country, too muchness, and that affects us and affects our health. And likewise, that happens with the planet. As we try to take too much, we're creating a serious health crisis on the planet, for the planet itself. And so the practice, in yoga they talk about, lack of greed and lack of acquiring too much. And it used to seem austere. It used to seem like, like, I don't know, like a monk or something, And in fact, what you start to see is that there's actually a richness to having less. And you can even feel that, like, in the body. Like, when you don't have as much food, there's a lightness. You feel good in your body, you feel good about your body. So it's the same with not having too much stuff, with not having more than you really need. And in fact, it's sometimes more creatively inspiring to do without. You have to come up with different ways of doing things. And I mean, we could go in so many directions with this, but investing in, I'm going to go here with this, is investing in a spiritual practice is probably one of the, I think, smart things that anyone can do, because what happens in those moments of greatest pain, where there's a loss of a loved one, a loss of a relationship, a disaster, whereas you would think that having things would comfort you, they don't. And they might make you more comfortable in one way, but they don't really. Things will not soothe your heart. But I have to say, a spiritual life, when you have to walk through, the saying, there's no atheist in the foxholes, in that moment, when there's fear, when there's pain, when there's loss, to dip down into the well of your spiritual practice, to have that as a full bank account, is something that I want to share, that I think it's worthwhile investing on a daily basis into. And I'll just make it more personal, is that, some of you know that I went through a divorce, and I'd say it's probably one of the hardest things that I ever had to face in my life. And 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 I feel like the beauty of walking through a very, very difficult situation um, with a gracefulness, a, a a non-resentful attitude was to me an example of my spiritual life being put to the test. That it wasn't something destroyed me. That it wasn't something that I became self-destructive. And as I shared with many of you, I had a addictive past, and so to be able to walk through something so emotionally painful and have the richness of my spiritual life to walk through it, kind of just reflected to me that it works. It really works. And I just want to share that with you, that it is worth it. And it's like, eating healthy. You only know that was a good thing to do because you've lived a life that you didn't have some terrible disease. And so your immune system's strong, so you're able to manage illnesses because you've got, the body's in a strong way. So it's that same thing. The spiritual resiliency is something to consider investing in. So look forward to hearing from you. Hopefully this has been helpful.